you so much for having me here tonight. My name is Dr. Mike Morgan, and I'm here to present information about the 2025 Belton ISD bond proposal. Belton ISD, we have a history of planning, and this is the 2025 bond is the next phase in addressing the long-range plan that has been established by the district. Belton ISD has been identified by the Texas Education Agency not only as a large school district, but also as a fast growth school district. And Belton ISD is a member of the Texas Fast Growth Schools Coalition. Belton ISD has been engaged in long range facility planning for quite some time, and since 2017 has passed and executed 2 bonds. The voter approved those bonds in 2017 for $160 million, and 2022 for $173.8 million. And some of the major projects in those were four new schools that have been built: a comprehensive high school at Lake Belton High School and 3 new elementary schools to handle the significant growth that we were seeing at that time. Also, major renovations and expansions for several other campuses in both of those bonds. Prior to that, in 2011 and 2014, Belton opened up 4 other campuses due to growth and because of voter-approved bonds. So overall, in the last 14 years, Belton ISD has opened 8 new campuses during a time when we've seen significant growth through 4 voter-approved bonds. Belton ISD has shown responsible stewardship of taxpayer funds. Overall, from 2017 to 2025, which is the time period of the last 2 voter-approved bonds, the tax rate has been reduced by 28%. A large portion of that is, and we'll get in later about the maintenance and operations and interest and sinking sides to the tax debt, but a lot of that is due to compression from the state, as the state has sought to lower and compress property taxes, and some of that has been through management of the Belton ISD debt service and the ability of our Board of Trustees to reduce the INS portion of our tax rate several times over the past 8 years. Belton ISD has adopted in August of 2025 a balanced budget, and we are very proud of the work that not only our Board of Trustees but also our staff and district staff has done to make that a priority to adopt a balanced budget for the 25-26 school year. Belton ISD also has a history of financial stewardship and management, and has for multiple years received a superior or an A financial rating from the Texas Education Agency. In our first report, we had a score of 98 out of 100 for this year, for the past school year, and we will be holding a public hearing on Monday night at our board meeting, and our board will be accepting that superior financial rating. And then we also have been recognized by both TASBO and ASBO, which is the state and national athletic business associations, for excellence in financial reporting, which basically means that we've gone above and beyond in transparency and making the financial information of Belton ISD available to the public, as well as what we report to the Texas Education Agency. Stakeholder feedback was important in this process. In 2021, Belton ISD completed a comprehensive facility assessment. We brought in a firm that specializes in assessment of facilities and had them evaluate our entire district, every campus and every facility. They did inventories of all of the major maintenance and operational systems, and gave us an assessment of not only an inventory of when that equipment was installed, but also an inventory of when that equipment would likely phase out and how much it would cost to replace that equipment. At the same time, we also commissioned a long-range facility planning team. And so from 2021 to 2024, we had a group of citizens, community members, staff members that met regularly and talked about long-term needs of the district. And out of that came a long-range, our new long-range facility plan and a needs assessment that led into the discussion for the 2025 projects we'll discuss tonight. In the 25 spring and summer, Belton ISD completed a voter survey to find out interest from likely voters in our community and what projects, what types of needs they felt like were most important and would most likely need to be addressed if our Board of Trustees chose to call for a bond. We also had our Board of Trustees commissioned a bonds advisory committee made up of citizens, staff members, and community members and parents to come together and talk about some of the needs that have been identified in our needs assessment. We also had not only a community survey, but also an opportunity for community members to come and hear about potential bond projects and to give feedback and ask questions. And then ultimately it led to a board discussion. And then in August of 2025, our Board of Trustees chose to call a bond election for November 4th, 2025 in the November election cycle. So in the bond propositions, and we'll go through each proposition tonight. Overall, we're talking about a Belton ISD called bond for $161.8 million. This bond project or bond proposal is broken up into 4 propositions, and the propositions are broken out by proposition type or by project type. This has been a legal requirement in Texas and it was passed several legislative sessions ago, and it does provide transparency to our community. And it also allows the community and the voters to decide if there's certain portions of the bond proposal that they support and certain portions that they don't. So we'll be going through all 4 propositions tonight and giving more information about each one. So Proposition A is, and a lot of times your Proposition A is also referred to as your general proposition. This is the proposition that primarily deals with facilities and infrastructure improvements. As I mentioned earlier, in a period of rapid growth for the past 2 decades, Belton ISD has invested heavily in new schools to address the growth that our community has seen. In this bond, there is more of a focus on 2 things: safety and then renovation and improvements to current learning spaces in some of our older facilities. You can see on the top left, this would be the next phase of safety improvements that we're wanting to make at Belton ISD. Belton ISD is fully compliant with the TEA safety standards that were adopted after the 2023 legislative session. But from what we know from our stakeholders and from the internal needs assessments we've done, this would be the next round of safety projects that we would bring. And you can see that security cameras would impact 16 of our campuses. Playground fencing would impact 9 campuses. Fire alarm systems would impact 12 campuses. Exterior lighting would impact 10 campuses. We also have as part of our master plan, it would be to take in pieces our older campuses and then provide renovations and in some cases additions to bring them up to standards more modern. And also you can see from these schools, the schools that are primary in this bond range anywhere from around 35 to 40 years old. This would allow us, we believe, to make the necessary improvements so that these facilities could be used in the future. So you can see Sparta Elementary, which opened in 1988, Lakewood Elementary, which opened in 1986, Belton Middle School, which opened in 1993, replacement of HVAC systems at 7 campuses, and then full or partial roof replacements at 4 campuses. Proposition A for safety, I've already mentioned the campuses or how many campuses would be impacted. Just a little bit more about each. Exterior lighting really is twofold. It is to replace existing and aging outdoor lighting, to replace it with more energy efficient and with higher foot candles or higher powered LED lighting for better visibility. And then it would also be to find areas in some of our older schools where we may have spots that do not have adequate lighting and add lighting to those spots, as determined by our safety team in a lighting assessment that we did as part of our facilities assessment. Also would be, we have, as most school districts do, we have security cameras at all of our campuses and our facilities. A lot of these cameras are aging out. We also, as technology has advanced, as we replace cameras, there will be a need to replace the older and the server-based cameras with cloud-based cameras, which does allow us to have the cameras on longer per day, would allow for longer storage of information on those cameras, and would allow administrators and law enforcement better and remote access to the video on those cameras. You can see here to the bottom left, playground safety fencing. This would impact all of our elementary and our preschool campus. Um, this would be getting all of them to the same standard, which is a 6-foot fence, vinyl coated, chain link with the heavy safety gates at each entrance point that are lockable and do have panic bars from the inside. So this would be a move district wide to bring all of our elementary campuses up to the same standard that we've been able to achieve at our newer schools. And then finally, to the bottom right, you see fire alarm systems. We do have older facilities throughout the district. Technology has advanced a lot in the last 25 to 30 years. And finding parts and replacement parts and keeping operational fire alarm systems has become a little more of a challenge. And the older these systems get, the more expensive it is to keep them operational. So to come in and renovate or make improvements and install modern fire alarm systems in multiple campuses would be a priority and safety in this bond as determined through our needs assessment. Proposition A for campus improvements, as I mentioned earlier, Belton Middle School, Lakewood Elementary, and Sparta Elementary are the three campuses that are at that point where they've had the fewest renovations and they're the oldest in age. So Belton Middle School and all three of these campuses would receive complete interior renovations. That would be to come in and remodel from floors, paint, ceilings, move to LED lighting. It would be making improvements to fire suppression systems and things like that. Some of our older buildings were not required to have fire suppression, so adding fire suppression where needed. It would also be renovation of restrooms, both staff and student, and it would be equipping these three campuses with new furniture throughout the facility. There's also some. Each one of these has a unique set of needs, whether it be through HVAC or roofing needs at some campuses, and then there will also be at Belton Middle School the addition of a band hall. This is the next step in our long-range plan. It's very similar to the project that was done at Lake Belton Middle School in the 2022 bond election. It would be to add a band hall at Belton Middle School, to move our orchestra program at Belton Middle School into the existing band hall, which right now that program operates just in a regular classroom space. And then it would be to build a new weight room. There is no weight room at Belton Middle School. Those students walk to Belton High School and use an old facility and then walk back to Belton Middle School. So it would be able to give them a weight room on campus for their athletes and for their students, like our other three middle schools have. For Sparta Elementary, and then also would include some exterior improvements, repaving of the parking lot areas and things of that nature. Sparta Elementary, the same interior improvements as mentioned, an outdoor learning space. We're trying to set as a standard as we renovate elementaries. Our needs assessment or what our feedback has told us is that outdoor learning spaces are needed and useful. And so an outdoor learning space, and then also to make improvements to the pickup and drop-off lines. Currently, a lot of the cars at Sparta Elementary queue on Sparta Road, and we would like to kind of reinvent the pickup and drop-off at Sparta to allow as many of those parent pickups and drop-offs to queue on our property and off of Sparta Road, and we think that would be a big safety improvement in the area. And then for Lakewood Elementary, the same interior renovations as we've spoke of. There are some site issues, some drainage issues at Lakewood that we would want to address, asphalt and paving, and then an outdoor learning space as well. As you can see, I've mentioned this is the remaining or the totality of projects from Proposition A. And you can see that the ones in red are the ones that I've mentioned already in this presentation. I will briefly touch on the ones that are color-coded gray. So our DIEP campus, that's our District Alternative Education Program campus. And that's a campus that meets students all the way from elementary age all the way up through high school. It's a very specialized staff. It is in our complex. If you are looking at the Pittenger Center, it sits directly to the south or to the right of the Pittenger Center. It opened up in the early 70s and was originally a band hall, and it's had many uses over the years. But for the past 15 years or so, it served as our DAP campus. There would be interior renovations that would go on at that campus. Also, being a facility that was designed with a very specific purpose, it's very limited on restrooms. So we would do some major restroom renovations there. One example would be we have male and female staff and there's one staff restroom in that building that they all share, and it becomes very challenging. So additional restrooms and renovation restrooms, along with interior renovations, new furniture for that facility as well. Our transportation facility, we have a very robust transportation department. We serve over 4,000 students a day, plus extracurricular trips for 7 campuses and also field trips for 21 campuses. And so our transportation facility originally was built as a shared space. It shared office space with other departments. In that time, we've added many campuses. It was opened in 2000, in the year 2000, so it's 25 years old. We've added many campuses, and that department has grown so significantly over that time. So there's a couple of needs there. One is to renovate the transportation facility to make improvements interiorly, not only in interior renovations, but also to restructure the space to provide the adequate meeting, training, conference, and office space that large department needs. The other would be to make site improvements. We have some drainage issues at that facility that we've seen, and also just to do some repaving, some additional paving, and also create some staff parking that has been a need at that transportation facility for some time. The BHS baseball, softball, turf, and lights, part of the Proposition A would be to turf. Currently, the Belton High School baseball and the Belton High School softball fields are both natural surfaces. We have, for the past several years, began to experience some significant drainage issues at the softball site. We do feel like this could help address some of those drainage issues, and it would also bring these facilities up to the same standard that we were able to accomplish at Lake Belton High School and that we see throughout many 5A and 6A districts throughout the state. Also, LED lighting at the softball field. The baseball field at Belton High School has LED lighting. This would be an opportunity or to address a need to provide LED lighting at the softball field. The Works, which would be a pre-K through 12 STEAM center. And so currently we have a building. It's the old Belton High School gymnasium. Then it was the Belton Junior High Gymnasium, and for the last 20 or so years, it has been used as district surplus to store equipment and furniture before it's either used by another campus or program or before it goes off to auction. We would like to turn this building, it's kind of a historic Belton ISD building, into a space that could be used throughout the district for K through 12 science, technology, engineering, arts, and math prerogatives, lots of hands-on learning experiences, and also use it for a very quickly growing robotics program and drone programs who need space for not only to work in those programs and have kids a space to learn, but also to host competitions from elementary all the way up to high school level. I've mentioned asphalt and paving at Sparta, Lakewood, and BMS, and at the transportation facility, but there are several other campuses that have asphalt and paving needs that would be addressed through this Proposition A. And then finally, tech infrastructure. This would be an investment based on need that could do things with connectability, Wi-Fi, and server and service on our campuses. And so that's kind of a rundown of Proposition A for learning spaces. I'm going to move into Proposition B, which is improvements to our high school stadiums. Overall, this project would be $43.7 million, and it includes improvements at Tiger Field, which is at Belton High School, and that is the facility that are right now both of our comprehensive high schools play their varsity football there, and then also some improvements that would be proposed to be made at Bronco Field. So at Tiger Field renovation, Tiger Field opened in 1996. It has had artificial surface and a new track put in within the last 30 years. But other than that, there haven't been significant improvements to the stadium itself. And so you can see here there would really be 4 areas that would be of improvements that would be made or renovations that would be made at Tiger Field. One is the addition of a visitor locker room. Currently, as Lake Belton plays at that facility and as the visiting teams come to that facility, they use existing buildings that are out of the stadium proper, and they have to travel across parking lots and come into that stadium. We would like to bring a visitor, or the need would be to bring a visitor locker room within the stadium. Secondly would be playing fields, playing surfaces And so it would be to replace the turf. Currently, the turf is at its end of life and is in need of replacement. Track resurfacing. This is a track that was installed in 2015. It would not be a track replacement. It would just be a 10-year maintenance resurfacing of the current track that generally have about a 30-year lifespan. On those, replace the original stadium lighting with LED lighting, and then also to put new and improved security fencing around the stadium area. Also, you can see at C would be a video board. The current video board is 14 years old, which is a little past the life typically of a stadium video board. So a replacement of the video board for hosting the events that go on there. And then finally, the home side improvements. It would be a renovation, of a reconfiguration of the current grandstands, and this would really allow three things. It would allow to bring the home band back to the home side. There's been feedback since 2012. When the athletic locker rooms were built for Belton High School, the band moved to the visitor side, and so to bring the home band back to the home side, also to renovate the accessibility in the ADA. Currently, the ADA seating at Tiger Field is on the back, and it's right in front of the front row, and so all of the walkways cross in front of the handicapped and accessible seating, so that the reconfiguration would move a designated area for accessible seating to the front and have the walkway behind those patrons that are there to watch the game. And then finally, it would be to renovate the reserve seating section and bring in the new seats for the reserve seating. Those seats have aged out. It also would be new concessions and restrooms, and you can see here at D1 and D2 a vision of what new concessions and restrooms could look like, and then also a new press box as well. So at Tiger Field, or at Bronco Field, would be more of a Bronco Field completion. So Bronco Field, the current facility at Lake Belton High School was built with the original school, and it opened in 2020. The stadium was built as a sub-varsity field with about 1,800 seats and could accommodate sub-varsity football, all soccer, track, and those types of activities. This project would create a facility where Lake Belton High School could host their own Friday night varsity football games and everything that goes with that. So you can see here on the home side improvements would be new concession and restrooms, grandstands, and visitor locker room. None of those are currently there. As I said, it was master planned. Those areas were left empty in case in a future time, if the community chose to, they could come back and add those so that they could play varsity football there. Would be at the addition of a video board. The turf is 5 years old. Has many years left in its life. The track has many years left in its life as well. And then the home stands would be to increase seating, to expand the grandstands to accommodate a home football crowd, to build a new press box that can handle all of the different groups that need a facility for a varsity football game, and then to add additional restrooms and concessions to make sure and take care of the additional seating that would be. Also additional parking at Lake Belton High School as well. So there would be about an additional 230 parking spots here on the facility that would service not only the Bronco Field varsity Friday night football, but also for Bronco baseball, softball, tennis, and other events that go on at the campus. I'm going to move on to Proposition C, which is technology devices. Proposition C is for a total of $6 million. 75% of that is estimated that would be used for student devices and about 25% for staff devices over the next 5 years. We do have a note, and I want to give some information that the devices are only financed for the life of the device. That's what's required through bond process, and that's also what we would do even if it wasn't. That we would not finance a device or any type of equipment and for longer than the life of that equipment. And we have financial managers that make sure that those bonds would be paid off within the lifespan of that issue. Belton ISD, just a little background on that. We service over 13,500 students, over 2,100 employees, And we have over 19,000 devices that are active in the district. So they're all at various stages of their life. Some are brand new, some are at the end of their life, and some have lifespans that extend beyond 5 years, depending on what the equipment is and what the device is. So this is a big it will have a big impact, and all campuses and all staff would be impacted by Proposition C. Proposition D is our swim center improvements for the Roy and G. Potts Swim Center. Currently, we have a facility that's a fantastic facility. It opened in the 2006-2007. It has served our school district and our community well for the past 20 years. At the time that it opened, Belton ISD had one high school, and Belton ISD had two middle schools. And in the time that's passed since then, is we have three high schools now that all have swim programs, like Belton High, and Belton New Tech, and we have four middle schools that all have swim programs. We also have a swim club, the Tiger Sharks, that the district owns and operates. And then we also try we have provided community programming over the years as well. And the need that would be addressed at the Roy and G. Potts Swim Center would be adding pool space. Pool space is the biggest need there. Currently, there are limits on how many students from each high school can be on the swim team, how many students from each middle school could be on the swim team, and then we have caps and waiting lists for the swim club. And we also have limits on the ability of community offerings we have just due to pool space and the demand on that facility. So this Proposition D, would increase the pool space by 2/3. Basically, the facility would go from having one 25-meter 11-lane pool to, by adding a 50-yard with two bulkheads, you would basically be operating with 2/3, or you would triple your pool space. The second is and it would be in an enclosed metal building. The second is, because of the growth and because of some of the challenges with the current facility, it would be addressing and adding new swim center locker rooms, restroom facilities, especially when we host an event. Some of the restroom space is currently shared by students, by adults, by coaches, by spectators, parents, etc. And so it would create some new restroom and some new locker room space to accommodate the growth that facility is needed. So quickly, I'm going to talk a little bit about how bonds are funded versus how the rest of your school district operations are funded. And so I have two cups here. And the cup on the left, this is the general fund. This is what the maintenance and operations, and it's where the majority of all your day-to-day operations of a school district occur. The M&O is funded. The maintenance and operations fund is funded two ways. It's funded both by local property taxes or property collections, but it's also funded by state collections and state revenue as well. At Belton ISD, our local property taxes account for about 33% of the funding that we have for our M&O maintenance and operations budget, and then the state contributes the other 67 or so percent for us to be fully funded. Texas school districts are funded on the average daily attendance of their students. So based on how many students not only are not enrolled, but how many average come to school each day, that's the amount that you're funded on. Some districts, if they are more property wealthy, may collect more local property taxes. If they actually collect more property taxes than they're allowed by their ADA, then they become a recaptured district, and some of those local property taxes go back to the state. Belton ISD is not a recaptured district. And on the other side of the tax rate is your debt service fund, which is called the interest and sinking fund. The INS fund can only be used to pay your debt service. So that portion of the tax rate is completely collected by local taxes, and then it's used only to have your debt service fund. Your INS tax rate is set based on the projection that will be needed to manage or to pay your debt service fund. And I will say that in the August 25 board election, the August 25 board meeting, our board of trustees was able to drop our INS tax rate by around 3 cents based on what it would take to pay our debt service for the following year. This is just a simple breakdown of our general fund. The Belton ISD, like I said, about 13,500 students, about 2,100 employees, operates with an expected budget for the 25-26 school year of $153,309,901. And you can see the greatest percentage of that, of almost 83.5%, goes to salary and benefits for our staff. You can see the other 16.6% goes to contracted services, your supplies, materials, operating costs, principal and interest costs. And a lot of those are the different contracted services that we have. It might be SROs, it might be officials for games and contests, it might be judges for different types of competitions, it might be people that come in and provide professional development for our staff. Supplies and materials would be all of those things, whether it be physical supplies, whether it be software and applications that our students and staff and teachers need to provide instruction. And then you would also have operating costs in various degrees that would include all of your fuel costs, all of your maintenance costs, all of your facility investment, all of those sorts of things would all come out of that 16.6% of the budget. And so on the INS side, the side that only can be used to pay debt service, what would this bond actually mean for them? And so for our 65 and older voters, provided that they have the 65 and over tax exemption, and assuming no improvements made after this point, or no improvements made to their property, that the tax implication would be zero for those voters and those community members. And then for our other voters and community members, a tax rate increase, if all four propositions passed, would be estimated at 0.0025 or a quarter penny tax raise, which for the average homeowner in Belton ISD would be about $5.22 per year. That's based on the median home value of $348,832, and it would be with the full homestead exemption. And the median home value is determined by the Bell County Tax Appraisal District. And so, with that being said, I've provided a lot of information tonight about the 2025 Belton ISD bond. Just a couple of things that are coming up. So, Election Day is Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. Early voting opens on October 20th and closes on October 31st. This whole presentation is available on our website. So if you go to bisd.net or Belton ISD, to the Belton ISD website, you can go to the section on bonds and 2025 bonds and view this entire presentation. There's also a link to the Bell County, so you can look and find not only the election days and times for early voting and election day, but also the polling locations. There's also a QR code on that where you can scan and receive more information about the Belton ISD bond. We are not advocating, but we're asking people to be informed, and we would like for voters to show up to the poll and vote based on the information that they've received. At this time, I would like to say thank you for being here tonight, and look forward or are very thankful that we were able to come and present information on the 2025 Belton bond.